It's time for Let's Get Real with your host from Bob Richards and Associates, Bob Richards.
Bob, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Michael. It's a beautiful day in southern Utah.
It is absolutely gorgeous. It's good to see you again.
Likewise. Thank you.
I haven't seen you since the last podcast.
That's about right.
Yeah.
Yes. Good to be back.
It's good to have you here. I see once again that you, Mr. Bob Richards, have brought two very special friends. How would you like to introduce these guys today?
Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Paul and Mikel. They are involved in some investing opportunities that is different than real estate. And oftentimes I'm finding where people aren't quite ready to get into the real estate arena, whether it be a rental or vacation rental, maybe just don't have the funds in which to be able to do so. This is a great alternative for people to pool their investment funds together with these two experts in their business and raising capital for much larger projects. So I'm going to introduce you to Mikel and Paul.
That sounds great. So over here we've got Mr. Paul Poteet, who is the owner and CEO of Surge Development and Surge Capital, correct?
That's right.
Welcome. And then we've also got Mr. Mikel Poulsen, who is the director of capital raising, or as I like to call it, capital influx. And he's also in charge of investor relations. Did I get that right?
You did.
That's cool.
Thank you.
Before we jump into this, we're going to talk about your companies and what your company does. So, Mikel, why don't you just tell us a little bit about you, your background, and how you get into this, and what your tasks include over there at Surge Development and Surge Capital.
Sure. As a kind of a brief introduction of who I am and what I've done in my career, I started off as a financial advisor for almost 13 years with a large independent broker-dealer called LPL Financial. Managed money with two partners that happened to be family members. Did very, very well with that. And in 2016, I sold my practice and moved to Midway, Utah. We had family there and lived there for about 2 years when my wife said, hey, would you ever consider moving to St. George? And I didn't know much about St. George at the time. And I said, maybe. But we had taken a spring break trip down here with the kids, and I kind of fell in love with it. My wife kind of pushed for me to move down here, and we've been down here for about 4 years. When we did move to Midway, I had started a pharmaceutical company with my wife's uncle, who happened to be one of the world's top 10 chemists in a specific molecule. And we developed a reformulated opioid that was less addictive, meaning we had an opioid, or had a molecule we paired with opioids, hydrocodone, oxycodone, morphine, and we were able to dose down by about 60% and still maintain the same amount of pain relief. And in 2021, we got an unsolicited offer to be bought out, which we accepted. And I was in charge of bringing in investors into our company, being the face of the company, finding people to invest. And after that was sold, I kind of took some time off and tried to figure out what I wanted to do. And recently had an opportunity to sit down with Paul as they were looking for somebody kind of with my skill set. And I've kind of teamed up with him, and I'm excited for the opportunity moving forward.
Oh, that's great. You've got a very impressive background. That's very, very impressive. I can see you know exactly what you're doing and what you're talking about. You left off, in my mind, probably the most important part of your qualifications is that you are a trained percussionist.
I am.
Yes. So I think it's important everybody realizes that. That's impressive.
Thank you.
It is.
Thank you.
Most musicians, it is.
Yeah, to Bob and I, musicians in the podcast booth here.
Yes.
So that's cool. So also we've got Paul Poteet. Paul, tell us a little bit about you and your function as the owner and CEO of the company.
Yeah. Surge Development is, like you said, a company that I founded. It was November 2021 where I started Surge after exiting a previous development company. I was a partner and owner of that company, Springville-based Utah, developing multifamily properties nationally. So that I built with a partner for about 4 years. Got to the point where we just felt it was better to part ways, right? Not every partnership or business marriage, as I like to call them, work out. So he bought me out of my interest and set me free to do this company. So we, since that time, have been growing pretty rapidly. We picked up multiple development sites. Right now, we have 12 in the pipeline, so 4 of them under construction, with the rest still in the entitlement or early stages with the cities. We're about to start a couple others construction in the next couple months. So we're just building that. We've added some staff. Really love the people we're working with, like Mikel and our other team members are just a joy to come to work every day. And we've got some big goals, big plans, but we're also equally happy with where we're at.
That's great. So I know you've got 2 divisions of your company. You've got Surge Development and Surge Capital. So tell me what each one does. What does Surge Development do? What does Surge Capital do? How are they different? And what benefits do they provide to your specific investors?
Sure. Yeah, Surge Development itself is just the development arm of our company. And for those that are not as familiar in this area of business, development essentially is the process of taking land and going through approval processes through the cities and getting them financed and built. So that we do that development process for multifamily apartment communities.
Okay.
So that's what Surge Development is all about, really the operations of making these properties go from a blank slate of land to something that's built and people can move into and live in.
Okay, so that would explain the relationship between you guys and Bob, our realtor friend over here. All right, so I want to make sure everybody understands what that is.
Yeah, and Surge Capital is more the funding division of that. So to make these larger commercial projects work, there's quite a bit of capital that's needed to qualify for construction loans, right? So typically a construction loan is going to require about 30% down, plus or minus, to be able to get. So Surge Capital has a family of funds that we take on capital investment, and we're able to take that cash that's invested with us and deploy it into our mini projects to get them moving forward.
Okay, so I think we've got a better idea about who you guys are and what you're doing and things like that. So you said you've got about 12 projects that you're working with right now. Got some others coming into the pipeline. Now, is this where Mikel comes in? How are you guys getting your clients since you're a fairly new company? How are you guys building your business?
Yeah, I'll speak to a little bit of that, and Mikel can talk about what we're doing right now. So because of the company I was involved in previously, I built up a reputation and a good network of investors. Many of those I've continued to develop good relationships with. And since my departure, I've also had the opportunity to meet a lot of new investors. So when you ask, how are we doing it? How have we done it? Last year alone, we were able to raise about $32 million in equity for our projects. And all of that was deployed. We're now raising for our next projects. But most of that's been high net worth individuals, people I'd say worth between $1 million and $50 million are probably those that resonate best with the opportunities we offer. My largest investor is worth several $100 million. So we do cater to those that are larger. My smallest investor is probably worth $500,000. So we also cater to the smaller, but on average, we're probably between that. I'd say more 5 to 50 million is where our offering starts to become real appealing to those guys. So just word of mouth, meeting a lot of those types of people.
So I understand that one of the unique selling points that you guys have and one of the benefits you offer is that you're able to work with smaller investors. Not everybody has, $500 million, except Bob. He's only at 400.
Yeah, 400. 400. That's right.
Yeah. Next year. So get to work.
Yeah, get a little bit of time. Give me a little time.
So I understand you can work with smaller investors, people as low as $25,000. Someone can begin working with you guys?
Yeah, we have a variety of different options and funds, and without going into too many of the details of what those are, those that are interested can always reach out later. But the smallest opportunity that we have is for a $25,000 investment. And that just varies across the different strategies that we're seeking to raise capital for.
Oh, that sounds great. So what other features do you guys incorporate into your benefits? What sets you apart from the competition? And why should an investor look to Surge Development and Surge Capital.
Or is there a competitor?
Is there a competitor? Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I like that point, Bob. That's good.
Yeah, there are lots of competitors. So having a multifamily fund is not a unique thing. They're all over. Now, a lot of them have different strategies. Funds are very specific investment vehicles. So when you put your capital into a fund, they have a very specific set of rules that they're going to be using to guide themselves as to where they can place the fund. So it's a very highly regulated industry. Where we really stick out is in a few different ways. So one, and I say this trying to be humble, but I know a lot of top tier developers in the country, and I don't know any of them that are as good at finding and prospecting quality sites as we are. So we can really find a high volume of good opportunities, which means we have the ability to deploy quickly a lot of capital, right? And a lot of these companies will take on investment, and it takes them a long time to find the right opportunities because they're trying harder to find these. A lot of them require zone changes, which there's some risk associated to that. And because of those additional risks and additional time, they're paying lower returns, right? But in this game, the faster you can deploy capital and get it turned around, the higher returns you can offer. So that's one of the strengths that we have. We can find a lot of opportunities that meet our criteria, which we have fairly critical eyes when it comes to evaluating good opportunities. And two, what we do is really merchant building, which means we're building and immediately selling. We're not trying to build it and hold for 10, 15 years. One day maybe we'll get there. That's not what we do. But we build and sell, which is usually about a 2 to 3 year window. And because it's a faster window, and during the time where the most forced appreciation is created in construction, if we're able to exit at that time, we're also able to preserve the highest amount of returns for the shortest amount of time, which again is all about cycling that money through and providing larger returns as fast as we can for the investor.
So I'm going to distill all that down to the lowest common denominator, as I understand it. And Bob or Michael, correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, one of the unique selling points you guys offer and the benefits to go with it is that you can save me time, you can move faster, and as a result that you can do that, you can help maximize the return on my investment, and you can make me more money in a shorter amount of time.
That's absolutely right.
Is that it?
Yep, that's right.
Well, I think that's a pretty good benefit, don't you, Michael?
I do.
I can see why you jumped on board with these guys.
Yes.
So Michael, as the guy who's in charge of investor relations and raising money, what are some of the activities that you find yourself involved in?
That's a good question. Because I'm not a quote unquote, local in St. George, my relationships are not terribly deep. My Rolodex is not, 100 people deep. I have to rely on networking through other people. So a lot of my activities, include getting to know people, asking critical questions. Do you know anybody? Is there anyone you can introduce me to? Is there anyone you think might be interested in getting into the multifamily space? And so a lot of my time is really focused on doing critical networking and finding the right players and the right people. In this case, Bob.
I was going to say, that's why Bob's here, because Bob knows everybody.
Bob knows everybody.
You know Bob, you know everybody.
Right. And so if I know Bob, then I can know everybody through Bob. And so that's really what, someone who is looking to find investors does, is there's just a ton of networking and trying to get in front of the right people at the right time and being a part of the community and developing our relationship so that we stand out as the go-to, developers for people that want to make money, like we talked about, quickly and get those returns that are above average.
So the development is primarily like multifamily residential type things, and anything in commercial yet, or is it just multifamily stuff? I didn't mean to say just, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So depending on who you ask, multifamily is considered commercial or it's considered residential. So the size that we do, our minimum, absolute smallest project we'll do is 45 units.
Oh.
The largest that I have right now is closer to 400 units. So that's a commercial size loan, but the use itself is considered residential, right? When you ask if we're going to go to commercial, as that definition, it leads my mind to more your retail centers or your office space. I can't tell you we'll never go there, but I can tell you it's going to be a very long time if we ever do, because it's just against the values and mission that we have. And our mission is to be the number one multifamily developer in the nation. And in order to do that, we believe it's important to have a singular focus. We do one product. We do one bedroom unit, one 2-bedroom unit. We repeat it across every project so we can get really good at that one thing. So we're not going to allow other uses and other opportunities to distract us from what we think we can be the best at.
So the smallest is what, 25 that you said?
45.
45.
Yep.
Bob, is that something that somebody, since you're the real estate expert here, is that something that if somebody was looking at building, I don't know, like we've talked in the past about vacation rentals and VRBOs.
Yeah.
Is that something that might be a fit or a solution working with the guys from Surge? Or is that, tell me about that.
Yeah, really good question, Michael. And as we talk about here, let's get real. Let's talk a little bit about what that does in the difference between a vacation rental, long-term rental versus something that's a much bigger source.
Yeah.
Number one, you don't have to run a business if you're involved with Paul and with Michael. You're not waiting for a check to get in the mail. You're not waiting for utility bills. You're not waiting for the cleaner to go over and clean. This is something that is long-term that you just put away and keep in mind that it's there and keep in mind that it's being worked by professionals and being handled by professionals. Much lower risk involved in other real estate transactions as well. We talk about real estate being chapter 1, verse 1, location, location, location. With these gentlemen, it's connections, 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 and having that reputation throughout the nation as they're building in Texas now, they're building in North Carolina, other parts of the country. It's going to be extremely valuable for investors to get in and be involved with this and not have to worry when the wind blows at night, that they know that their investment is being well taken care of and well managed.
I think that's a good point. You know, quite frankly, as a small investor, just talk to small investors for a second, since I think our audience of $500 million guys might be somewhat skewed, except for Bob.
Yeah, 400.
400. But if I was in that room, anywhere from $25,000 to $400,000 or $500,000, I would think this would be a great investment. And you know, you've got about, what, a 2-3 year period, and then you're out. It seems to me this is a perfect vehicle to, like, I would just roll that thing over. You know, I would take my profits. I mean, I made some money. I'm probably not going to take my profits. I'm probably going to roll it over to the next one and keep building it up till I'm like Bob and I've got my $500 million. That seems to be the thing to do. What do you think? Is that a good strategy?
Absolutely, yeah. So of our options, we've got the quickest option to liquidity is about a year, right? And then that's all the way up to about 3 to 5 years. So we provide a lot of different options there, but it's all about liquidity, right? So if you've got a ton of money that you don't know what to do with, maybe you don't need to be as liquid because you've got other capital you've set aside and other investments that are producing income, and you just want to focus on growth. But if it's maybe your first investment or you don't have a lot going on as far as other rental or investment income, then maybe liquidity is more important. So for us, it's just about providing that opportunity for liquidity and the options there. But those that are smart investors, they get their return and they immediately roll it into the next opportunity because it's more about long-term growth. Investment's never a short-term game. You win the best when you're investing for the long term.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good plan. Speaking of investing for the long term, I know, Bob, don't you have some beautiful home that you'd like to share with us today?
I do, Michael.
For people who want to live there for the long term?
Yeah, for the long term.
Tell us about this.
This is the type of house that you would never have to move out of. It really is spectacular. It's a home over in Bloomington Hills. It's got a main level and a basement to it on a nice cul-de-sac. It backs up to the golf course, St. George Golf Club golf course. And so you've got an awesome view out the back of Pine Valley Mountain. Of course, the golf course has 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. Built in the 90s, and so it needs a little bit of, it's a little tired. I'll call it a little bit tired, but it doesn't have issues as far as structural. It just needs a little bit of Botox with a little bit of paint, a little bit of carpet, maybe a little bit of tile. LVP, whatever somebody wants, and it's good to go. It's only priced at $589.9.
Oh.
We've had a ton of showings on it. It's just been on the market for a week. We've had 12 people look at it already, and so I don't expect it to last too long. And if somebody's looking for a good value to maybe put a little bit of sweat equity in, they would enjoy it for decades yet to come.
It looks nice. It looked like it's got a 2-car garage, so Michael would have a place to set up his drum set.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely.
You got to keep that in mind.
And there's no neighbors. They're not going to yell at you.
That's right.
I think it's going to work out great.
The golfers might be a little annoyed, but they'll just
well.
have to get their swing in time with the 4/4 time of the drums.
You know,
Something like that.
They should appreciate a guy who can swing the sticks better than they can swing their clubs. That's
right.
all I got to say.
That's right.
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you both for being guests on our show today. Any parting words of wisdom you'd like to share with our audience before we go?
I guess the thing that comes to mind when you ask that is, the philosophy we have as a company is just help where you can, right? And what we've talked about with our company is not the best fit for everyone. Bob's homes may not be the best fit for everyone. No one anything does is the best fit for everybody. But I think we have an attitude of, if we're not the best fit, we're at least there to help. So those that are interested in getting involved in investing, whether that be in us or something else, if you're interested in having a discussion and maybe getting some mentorship from those that have been doing it a while, you're welcome to reach out to us. There doesn't have to be any strings attached. You don't need to be interested in investing with us. We're just here to be active members in the community and to help. So we encourage those to reach out and ask for that help.
Sounds great. And how can we reach out to you? What's your phone number?
Yeah, so I think those that are interested in reaching out can add me on LinkedIn or Facebook. My name is Paul Poteet, spelled Poteet. And Michael, if you want to give out your email, they can reach out to him specifically as well. And
you can find me on LinkedIn as well. That's Mikel, Mikel, last name Poulsen, Poulsen. And you can email me at Mikel@Surge, SURGEREDEV.com.
Okay. And what's your website URL?
it's www.surgeredev.com.
Cool. Got it. Bob, thanks for bringing these great guests today.
Absolutely. They're the best. They know what they're doing.
Do you have any last parting words before we head on down the road?
I love the fact that they're not asking for a blood sample. You have to donate your kidney. You have to give them DNA before they'll talk to you.
Yeah.
They're here for you if you need them.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think you guys have a lot of unique benefits going for you, and I know that you're going to be extremely even more successful than you have been so far. So
Absolutely.
thanks for joining
Appreciate
us.
it, guys. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we'll see you guys again next time with another really exciting episode of Let's Get Real with our friend Bob Richards.
This has been Let's Get Real with Bob Richards from Bob Richards & Associates. For more information, buyutah.com. We invite you to return again for another edition of Let's Get Real with Bob Richards from Bob Richards & Associates.